You know what's funny? iOS 27 is finally catching up to Android with Siri AI. But Apple had to take Google's help to do it. See, there's nothing inherently wrong with it, but you know it, I know it, the irony is pretty hard to miss here. Which is why I wanted to compare iOS 27 beta to Android 17 beta, and the differences are very interesting. Very, very interesting. Hi, I'm Ashad. This is Trakin Tech English, your destination for detailed, incisive gadget reviews. Since AI is at the core of both the operating systems right now, let's start by comparing Siri AI to Gemini Intelligence. Alright, let's start with this. Find me a movie theater playing Obsession near me for today. Okay, Siri's already pulled up the results. It's showing Cinepolis. Wow, that's really nice. And this one's showing Pavilion for some reason. Technically, Pavilion is further away for me. Siri's doing a better job. Interesting. All right, let's do something contextual right now. Can you tell me what watch is this? It looks lovely. And where can I buy it? Siri is always faster at pulling up results, which is very nice. Both are connected on the same Wi-Fi, by the way. So both got the G-Shock Coca-Cola GA2100cc3A right. So that's really nice. Where to buy and availability. Interestingly, Google pulled up the Indian result, which is 15,000 rupees, official channels, secondary market, watch retailers and everything. Unfortunately, Siri only pulled up StockX and eBay. So yeah, contextual information seems to be slightly better on Google. All right, for the final battle, I'm trying to make it more difficult right now. Let's see how agentic AI works on these phones. Find my upcoming flight to Pune and add it to my calendar.
I found your upcoming flight. Air India AI 1730 from New Delhi to Pune on June 24, 2026, which is already on your calendar.
Perfect. Both did a very good job, but I think that Siri did it better. All the live examples of how Siri AI and Gemini Intelligence works clearly indicates that both are very good at it. Now, one more thing Apple has changed with iOS 27 is search. It's now search and ask powered by Siri AI. It first indexes your system properly, and indexing your system takes a while depending on what's on your phone and how large your storage is. But once it's done that, you can search through all of your files, all of your documents, emails, everything, and Apple uses on-device AI for that, unless there is something that requires going to the cloud. Now in Android 17, you do not get that, but custom skins offer it. For example, Global Search with ColorOS and OxygenOS actually have this feature. It's actually very helpful. For example, I was trying to search for my Aadhaar card on my Oppo phone and my iPhone, and it popped up the information. Now moving on from AI to design and UI experience changes, both these systems do not bring a lot of changes, but there are some very useful ones. For example, with iOS 27, you can now adjust the transparency effect of liquid glass, something we all were asking for the longest time, and now you can actually change the level of transparency of the control center, of notification panels, app backgrounds from ultra clear to fully tinted. In fact, even certain first-party app icons are sharper, have more layers, and toolbars are much cleaner now. I also noticed that the camera app UI has been redesigned as well. Android 17 also has subtle design changes across the board. Material 3 Expressive has this subtle transparency across the UI, which makes it look more blended. Dynamic color theming now adapts across all your Google apps and some of your system apps as well. Now you can also make your own wallpapers on iOS with Image Playground, something similar to what Android offers with AI wallpapers. Honestly, I'm not like a big fan of this. Are you guys actually using AI wallpapers, or do you just find something online and use that instead? Let me know in the comments. Of course, with iOS 27, there has been a huge upgrade to performance and smoothness as well. Apple's animations have always been deliberate, but they've been reliable and consistently fast. But now they're definitely much faster on iOS 27, not just on newer phones like the iPhone Air or the iPhone 17 Pro Max, but also on older phones like the iPhone 11. Talking about which, Apple is going to give iOS 27 for iPhone 11, a phone that launched 8 years ago. There's not a single 8-year-old Android phone that will be able to run Android 17. Now coming back to the animation speeds, we compared the animation speeds on iOS 27 to Android 17 on the iPhone Air and the Pixel 10. iOS 27 definitely looks smoother and more refined, especially when the app shuts or closes. You can see that it doesn't have the kind of stutter that Pixel has. But this is a Pixel problem, honestly, because if you should know, ColorOS and OxygenOS exist. For the longest time, Android owned generative editing. Magic Eraser, Unblur, Best Take, Google had all of it. While of course, iOS users were trying to use the cleanup tool with absolutely terrible results, right? But you know what? With iOS 27, Apple flips that script. Now take a look at this example where we've used cleanup on iOS 27 compared to cleanup on iOS 26. The phone is gone and Apple has recreated the face. Now when we compare it to the Pixel 10, it did a terrible job. Apple actually does a better job. Now, one new thing added with iOS 27 has to be Extend, which expands your frame beyond the original shot, which by the way works on the lock screen as well. And of course, there's also Reframe, which fixes your composition after the shot. And both really work much better than I expected it to. All of this, of course, is available with Android 17, but Android also has way more features. For example, you've got Unblur, you've got Touch Up, you've got Move, you've got Best Take, you've got AI Enhance, all built into the Photos app. And not to mention that every custom skin out there will offer even more features. Apple is definitely playing catching up. It's doing a good job playing catching up, but it's still not full-fledged in terms of features. But you know what? Apple does it right as well, because all of the image editing features, all of it run on device. On Pixel, many image editing options do work, but some do not if you do not give it cloud access. Now finally, Apple also introduced Parental Controls, right? So with which you can create supervised account, restrict apps, approve installs, and enable Ask to Browse for Safari. And you can also set category-based time limits with custom schedules as well. You can already do a lot of this with Parental Controls on Android, by the way. Now, there are a few features which are unique to the Android 17 experience, but unfortunately, we can't test any of them because the beta doesn't have it. For example, Pause Point will automatically stop you from using any distracting app that you've selected. You can also create custom widgets, which unfortunately is not here either. And then there's that Rambler feature, which basically lets you like talk whatever you want to your phone, and it will create like a, sensible, cohesive document for you. iOS has one more advantage, and that is that you can create shortcuts by just talking to it, which I think is fantastic. It actually makes it easier for us to create shortcuts now. Otherwise, we had to go through a bunch of complicated sort of settings to make that happen. By the way, QuickShare supports AirDrop, and that works really fine. So basically, even after testing only the beta, I can confidently say that with iOS 27, Apple lives up to the promise of that elevated AI experience with Siri that it promised in 2024, by the way. Yes, Apple did achieve this with the help of Google, but it is doing it the right way for most users at least. And let's not forget that iOS 27 is faster and smoother now, which is pretty awesome too. You know what? With iOS 27, the iPhone has become more fun again. For someone like me who was waiting for exactly this from Apple. Tim Cook being personally involved in the product development of AI features for the iPhone was his final masterstroke. I have to tell you that. Even if it has been like a very bad year for smartphone hardware, smartphone software with Android 17 and iOS 27 with Gemini Intelligence and Siri AI is definitely heading in the right direction. Now that you have a sense of what you can expect with iOS 27 and Android 17, let me know which one would you pick in the comments. I like both. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep tracking and stay safe.